Alright, hey guys. This is going to be a demonstration of what I've done so far. If I were to show you, honestly, it's just a couple of things, not too much, right? But basically, here's what I've done, right? And I have a whole entire sheet in front of me that tells me what do you call it, the chemical reactions that should happen. So right now, what you have is iron, right? You take a little bit of iron and combine it with like regular air. Now, basically, what we're assuming here, I think I'm speaking too loud. Basically, what we're assuming here is that the everything around this is just in a vacuum. So what we need to do is we need to add in just like a whole butt ton of air, right? Like that's air, not that much. There we go. Now, what we need to do is we need to heat this up to 570 degrees Fahrenheit. We can use fire for that. And that's what we're doing right now. I'm going to speed it up just by putting it right next to it, and hopefully that does it. Right? So we're speeding it up. Speed it, speed it up. And you should see, do you see the fact that it's eating at it? That's literally, it's just the oxygen is combining, sorry, the air is combining with the iron to make the unstable iron center. Oh my goodness. Well, okay. Pause. Look. So this little black dot right here is called iron center. Or sorry, unstable iron center. And the reason why it's unstable is because if it's not, okay, well, I'll explain that in a second. But look, it turns into unstable iron center, and in a few seconds, it'll oxidize, not really oxidize, but decompose into rust. It'll decompose into rust, right? Now, how do we get it to stay as that iron center I just showed you? It's actually pretty simple. All we do is we come down here and we add some oil down here. This is typically called quenching, and this essentially prevents it from decomposing. So we do the exact same thing again. We come over here. I think it was, sorry, air. Right? We add a bit of air, and then we heat. I'm gonna use this tool because it's actually a bit better in tight spaces. So we're waiting for 570 degrees, and it'll start combining. I'm gonna keep it a little bit heated, just so that the reaction stays. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. Interesting. Yeah, you can see some of the elements that are forming rust. I can actually explain that pretty easily. So basically what's happening here is the reason why they're forming rust is because they're all the way at the bottom. So as you saw, this, like for example, it has to be touching oil. It's not the fact that it has to be in oil, it has to be touching it. So only the iron center at the top will turn into a stable, like, iron center, right? Now let's just say all of the iron, I think all of the iron is changed into whatever it is. So as you can see, we have a big layer of rust. Now, the reason why it didn't just stay iron center is because it also needs to cool down to, what is it, I think, yeah, probably below 570. I can check that right now. It would take a bit. It would need to cool, yeah, below 870? Yeah, 870 degrees. Oh, and this reaction, yeah, it also happens at 570, but it needs to cool to below 870. That doesn't really seem right, but that's fine. I'll probably fix it later. It needs to cool to below 570. Sorry, 870. However, if it stays heated up, or if it cools down and it's not in contact with oil in 3 seconds, it'll turn to rust. So that's why you saw the ones at the bottom turn into rust, because they went all the way down. Yes, they were in contact with oil, but stuff built on top of it, and so they were no longer in contact with the oil. They turned into rust. Now you can see this top layer turned into iron center. Now, the important thing to note about iron center, if we go in and we press look up, iron center, interesting. um, I'll have to figure out why it does that later. But the thing about iron center is that it's not just a separate thing from the thing we're trying to get. It is. Oh yeah, it's hematite, magnetite, and was tight. Was tight is the thing we're trying to get. That's FeO, right? It's unpure, super unpure. You see how it turned into rust and it turned into like all the other things. That's what you don't want any of that, right? So how do we make this reaction better? Oh, that's okay. How do we make this reaction better? We don't combine it with air. Let's try combining it with steam. H2O, but in a gaseous form, right? So let's go ahead and put in our iron. And this time, let's go ahead and put in our steam, which is in a compound, right? Let's go ahead and put in steam. All right, so in here, it requires to be heated up to 1,000 degrees Celsius. Whoops. So let's heat it up to 1,000 degrees Celsius and see if it forms what we want. Was tight, essentially. That's what we want. Was tight. So it's 1,000 degrees Celsius. Look, unstable was tight. It's turning back into rust. Interesting. It's very interesting. You know why? It's because we don't have our oil. We need our oil for every reaction here in order for any of the unstable elements to turn into their stable form without just decomposing into rust. Now, I will note here that the iron hasn't just turned into unstable was-tight shards. It's also turned into hydrogen, and the reason for that is because the iron is taking the oxygen from the H2O in the gaseous form. It's taking that oxygen for itself to form that was-tight shard. But what's happening is that it's taking that oxygen, so it's just leaving H2, and it's just revealing H2 into the atmosphere. That's why these things are just flying out of it, right? So, how do we fix this? Well, we need oil. Yeah, we need oil. So, where's oil? So I think it's in here. Let's just add a bit of oil. Not that much. And then we add iron. And then we will add, where is it? What did I use? Steam. I use steam. And I just add a bunch of steam, right? Because it's the simplest thing to do. Like, it will give it a better chance. Now I'm going to try and keep it to 900 C, or sorry, 1000 C, because it'll work a lot better. Kind of just have to heat it up, boom. Okay, now they're forming, Let's take a pause. Do you see how these are forming rust? This is still unstable. Look, we got was tight, right? We're actually not supposed to get was tight. Oh, it's because I heated it up way too much. Whoopsies. Yeah, I heated, whoops, okay. Sorry about that. Probably have to cut that out if I can. But yeah, I heated it up too much. You want to keep it at 1,000. Oh, and you also don't want to have it at the top. I'll explain it once we get to the next chemical reaction, why you don't want it at the top. But it's simply just a matter of the hydrogen reacting back with the iron as well as the steam, which makes pure wustite. So if we do this again, right, we're still paused, apparently. So, yeah, we had a... Okay. Oh, wait, why am I adding hydrogen? I don't need hydrogen. I need just steam. Just steam. There we go. Okay. Now we come over here, and we add a bunch of oil. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix, because this will just get us the best chance. And I'm just going to preheat it to 1,000. Right? Preheat it to 1,000. Okay, it's preheated. Let's unpause. Look, unstable was-tight shard. Oh, yeah, most of it didn't react. Look, now it forms into a was-tight shard. But again, that's not what we want. We want a was-tight. Just was-tight. We don't need a shard or anything. So, how do you do that? Oh, now, how you do that is you take this, you take iron, let's just put in a bunch, and then you take steam. I'm going to pause this. You're going to take steam, good amount, and then you're going to take hydrogen. This is a steam and hydrogen mix, right? So we're going to go ahead and mix this up. Boom. And then, of course, like I said before, we need our oil at the bottom in order for this to uh, stay was tight, or else it's just going to decompose, right? So now it's there, and now we're going to heat it to 900C. 900C. That's also important because you don't want it to be 1,000. You want it to be at just 900. Because the second it turns 1,000, it's going to do the other one, and that's not great. So, 940, right? Unpause. Oh, that's rust. Okay. Let me look at it. Yeah, it's not hot enough. Let's just kind of push it back up to 900. Okay. Waiting. We're waiting. We've also hit. Here we go. Mix it up. We'll get a Wustite thing in a minute here. Yeah, look. Unstable Wustite. The reason why these aren't just falling directly into the thing is because they're getting stopped up here. Oh, well, we're getting a whole bunch of Wustite. I guess that's good. What was my point I was trying to make? Something about redoing it so that the whatever. This is the Wustite stuff, right? That's how you get the best mixture, is doing all of that. So yeah, now you got that, right? So now you actually have the Wustite. Boom. We've done it. We've made it. That's about all I had, really. It took me about 2 days to get this in, and I've been working all day, but I finally got it in. So that is how. Oh wait, no, 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 no. Wait. Um, there's actually you can actually use carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide and do the exact same reaction with these two. I'm gonna go ahead and mix these up. You can do the exact same reaction with these two that you did with the hydrogen and steam. Oh, careful. It's lagging a bit. We're seeing rust, rust, lots of rust, lots of rust. Let's just make sure everything stays heated up. It's also kind of just. I'll see if I can figure out if it forms anything. But yes, it's hard to see because there's so much dang stuff happening on screen. That's iron. The rest of this, I mean, this really only shows how hard it is to make it with gas. Like, it's pretty difficult. You have to keep it heated up to a very high temperature. Consistently, too. Without going... Oh, well, actually, hold on. Yeah, you can just kind of heat it up. Look, unstable Wustite. That'll form rust. I forgot oil. But again, you can actually use carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide to make this other form, the same pure Wustite. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, but yes, you can. So that's essentially what I've done. I remember doing the other things where it was like carbon and sodium. Essentially, the reason why I removed all of those because it was literally just simple reactions where I would be like putting Wustite right next to iron, like spinner, and then it would just like form something. Like literally without, like if I were to equate that to what I'm doing right now, it would literally be me just putting iron down and then putting air down, and then this would be forming Wustite, the purest form, which is not accurate. So I've spent the time and the 200 lines of code just to figure out how to make it accurate. And just for clarification, this is all elements. These are the intermediate forms of the elements. So like the stuff that's like, if you don't put me in oil, I'm going to turn to rust. I'm going to turn to rust. This is the actual iron element itself. All it's really doing is, yeah, it's the iron, but then it's also detecting the change, and then, or it's detecting if it's above 570, which is the entry, which is the entry level for our temperatures. I just realized, oh my goodness, my recording is going to be so bad because this thing isn't even fit to my screen. Oh my goodness. Yes, correct. Whoopsies. Well, sorry about that. Okay. So yeah, all it does, and then over here we got these, which essentially is just saying we're going to uh, tell you what is touching a specific pixel, and whatever's touching that specific pixel is going to be saying true or false, and then this is just saying, are you touching steam or hydrogen? Yes. And are you at least or above 900? Yes. So we're going to perform the unstable Wust-Height reaction, or you're going to turn into that. We look over here. It's a solid, it's a power, that's color, that's a density, that's a description. Uh, yeah. And then this is just updating it every millisecond, right? And then it's gonna actually start the decomposition at below 870, and it's gonna start the timer. And if it's not in oil within 3 seconds, then it's gonna rust. But if it is, it's gonna turn to Wust-Height. Um, oh yeah, and here, because this isn't native to the coding thing. You actually have to put it in. So I just built one. Pretty simple. It's able to detect everything because all it does, right? If I were to demonstrate, also if you only came here to watch the elements be put together, then earlier would have been a good time to leave because I'm just explaining some of the code right now. All I could really do, let's just say this, like, okay, that is a single pixel in the game, but I'm gonna blow it up so y'all can see it better. Let's say this was a single iron pixel. What this does is this is saying, this is mapping it onto a grid. So 0, 0 would be right here, which is itself. 1, 0 is going to be right here. I'm actually probably going to make this a different color. There we go. That, and I'll just make it like, we'll do iron center. That is going to be 1. Okay. Thought I paused it. Okay, that is going to be 1, 0 as in x, y. So x, 1, and y hasn't changed, so it's still 0. This is going to be negative, this is going to be negative 1, 0. This is going to be 0, 1, because it's 1 above. This is going to be negative 1, because it's over here, and then 1, because it's above, but it's to the left. I think I haven't used this one. This is going to be 1, because it's on this side, and then positive 1, because it's over here, right? We'll use walls. How about that? And then this is going to be negative, or this is going to be 1 because it's on the right, but it's going to be negative 1 because it's below the original atom. This is going to be 0 because it's on this, but it's going to be negative 1 because it's below. And then we'll use, can I use fire? This is going to be negative 1, negative 1 because it's on this side. Yeah. Okay. So you can kind of see how that works, right? And so essentially what this code does is it maps the pixels, like it's gonna, for a single frame, right? A single frame, blue pixel, all these pixels are its neighbors, right? And it's gonna, for a single frame, it'll say, okay, all of these pixels are its neighbors. If you want a specific pixel that we have, I want you to tell me what pixel you think we have, and I'll tell you if we have it. That's what this code does, right here. Or that's what this code does. And then this just tells it what it wants. So we want carbon dioxide, and if it has carbon dioxide, then it'll say, okay, we have carbon dioxide, that is a true value. Okay? However, if I were to say, I want iron, what is it called? Iron sinter. If I wanted iron sinter, and I said, okay, tell me if you have iron sinter. It's going to be like, well, no, we don't have iron sinter. So it's going to say, okay, then that's false. So this is false. That's how it doesn't do this reaction when it's above 570. That's how it doesn't. Well, technically it does. I think I need to still fix that. Or no, I think I fixed it. I hope I fixed it. But basically this is saying Do you have steam? Yes, we have steam. Do this reaction. This is saying, do you have steam and hydrogen? Or, because this means or, do you have carbon? I think that's. Wait, isn't that carbon? Why'd I do. Whatever. This is saying carbon. Do you have carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide? And then it's going to be like, yes. Okay, so we'll do this one. Now, if both were true, it doesn't matter because this. Okay, this is going to get a little bit into electrical engineering. But basically, an OR gate, what that does is this is simply an OR gate. So even if both values were true, it would still run it, but despite it being this or that, which because it isn't. What that is, that's called an exclusive OR gate. An an exclusive OR gate, where essentially only either or can be active. If it's both, it's not going to be active. So either or, that's the exclusive OR gate. This is just an OR gate, right? And this is an AND. You would call them operands in coding, but this is just an AND operand, as you can see by the ampersands. But yeah, it took forever, and in this program, one note in this program to know is that whenever you set the color here, it'll add an FF to the end, and that will literally cause the game not to load. And I've been like, dude, it's just crazy. Also, if you look at the original game, look, Sandboxels. Hello, Sandboxels. Right. If you look at the original, that's a lot of things I don't think I have. What am I missing? I think I'm missing a race. Well, I don't really need a race because I have the right click, which is the erase. And I think in the code it's called erase, not eraser, but it doesn't matter. So erase, right? What was I going to say? If you look, my thing looks like besides these looking different, this bar is especially the thing you should be looking at because this is severely different from this. It also seems to have a font that I don't have, or I think. What does the E look like? E looks like that. E looks like this. I don't know. It looks like I have the old. It doesn't matter. So basically, how I did that was I made a script which basically goes through every element in the game before loading, and it deletes them unless they're in the list. So it's kind of like a bouncer at a party. You're like, hey, I don't see your name on the list. Deleted. This was just an attempt to try and get it to work, but it honestly just does nothing up here. And it doesn't really matter either because it does work how it's supposed to. It keeps things that are not supposed to be in there out, and it keeps things that are supposed to be in there in. That's why, because, excuse me, oh my goodness, pardon me, right? That, goodness me. That's why, look, if I were to comment this out, and when it's green, that means that it's not part of the code. The program will just skip over it. It's like, okay, this doesn't mean anything, right? So I put these little things, so that means that this means nothing, right? Now, if we go back to my thing and press enter, all of them pop up, right? And this is going to be real time. Watch this. Bing, 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 bing. You go like that, right? And to reload the file, you can either do the reload key up here or this guy and press enter. You just press it and press enter, and it'll reload. But usually, the only reason why you would want to do that is because you just made like an update to the code, and honestly, you know. So, okay, now I'm gonna start the tutorial for how to use this game. All right. So, or to use my version of the game, right? So essentially, how you're going to use this is if you scroll on your mouse wheel, it's going to change the size of your cursor, and what that does is that just changes the size of what you output, right? And to erase, you hold down right click, or you can click it, boom, to do like that. For things like fire, you don't just press it once, you have to hold it if you want to continuously output fire, right? Same thing for incinerate, which it just makes an element extremely hot really quickly. Um, if I were to demonstrate anything else, I would say unstable, or yeah, that just turns into rust instantly. So, because there's no, basically, okay, I'm not going to explain it because I already went over the code. But yeah, it is not coded in so that it searches for oil. If you place it in, you actually have to do the reaction. So look, to drag this only works with powders and liquids. So to demonstrate, I don't know if it works on gases. No, it doesn't. Okay. So this only works on powders and I think liquids. If I were to test, I would go to undone. Also, undone doesn't mean like the things are not done. It just means it's just like a tab that I use, right? Does it work on liquid? It does. Okay. So to drag, you can set your cursor size, and it's not always going to be the whole entire area you pick up. I don't know how that works, but it just does. So you can drag things right to your mouse cursor, and it won't ever drop unless you physically like let go of the button. So you hold left click and you'll drag it. Same thing with powder. You hold left click and it drags. You can drop it. You can't do. Oh my goodness. I didn't know that. You can do it with these things. Interesting. Well, it's the more you know, right? All right. Mix. I think you saw me use that earlier. You can use that on any element except for walls. You should be able to use it on anything. Basically, we have steam. Maybe we have rust. And you want to make it as big as the things are. Okay, so this is not a good example. Let's do wustite. Is wustite a powder? Yes. Okay. Wustite is a powder, and maybe we want to mix it with oil, and we want to mix it with iron, and we want to mix it with rust. So as you can see, the surface area, I'm going to remove oil. As you can see, the surface area of all this is really big. So I'm going to select the mix button and I'm going to make it very, very large so that it encompasses the entire area. And I'm just going to I'm going to hold the button down to mix it. You can also just click to mix it like a few times. Just like mix, 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 mix. So now they're mixed. I'm not entirely sure about the lookup. I know how it works. I don't know, because sometimes it doesn't work. Interesting. Sometimes it doesn't, like for Rust, as you can see, it does work. Although I think the reason why sometimes, oh, it's because I have, okay. But sometimes it doesn't work. So if I go like that, hydrogen, okay, so hydrogen works. It burns into, interesting. Yeah, I guess. But yeah, if you have lookup enabled, you're not going to be able to change the size of your cursor above that little thing. For certain things, though, I found that it doesn't work. So, like, maybe... Please give me one where it doesn't work so I don't look dumb. Unstable center. Oh, well. Huh, maybe it doesn't work because, it's like I don't know. Yeah, but basically that's how lookup works. You just hold it over the item and you look at. See, it doesn't work for wustite. I wasn't crazy. Honestly, I have no clue why it doesn't work for some. Although I don't know how I'm gonna like work the shock. Currently in my thing, shock does nothing. I didn't shock that. I just erased it. Normally, you would just hold left click. If I were to actually show it to you, we can get something. I would go to solids and then probably copper, right? Shock. It's like energy, right? It's like energy because it kind of is energy. However, in the main game, you can also use like different things, but shock just produces energy. This might be useful later if I add electrolysis, which honestly I might because I finally figured out how to do all that neighbor stuff. Okay, and paint. I've never actually used paint before. It looks like you can just paint things with it like that. So you just kind of click this. You can choose whatever you want. You can type in the RGB values, or you can type in the HSL, the hex, so like that, and you can just click on stuff and it'll paint it, right? You don't want any more, so you can just press. I honestly don't know what Smash does. If I'm being perfectly honest, I don't know what Smash does. I'm not gonna mess with it. But yeah, that's Smash. I think I'm missing pick, so that's fine. But yeah, that's kind of how to use the game. Sometime, and then Over here you have buttons like pause, like this. If you needed to pause, like right interaction, you can press spacebar, and it'll pause. Um, oh, okay, I know what that does. So this advances one singular frame forward. So look, like the fire is here. We're going to advance one singular frame. Now it's over here, right? This, oh, this is going to increase, or this is the manual thing to increase or decrease the box that I showed you. Reset clears the whole entire scene. It clears the whole entire screen of everything. Replace. Okay, this one's a little bit more tricky. Not really tricky, but look. Let's say we put in iron. But, oh, hey, actually, I wanted to put in, what's tight instead of iron. Whoops. So what I do is I press replace, and it replaces, okay, well, what's tight wasn't a good example. Iron center. If I put in, well, is iron center also powder? Okay, I need something that's not a powder. I don't think I have anything that's actually stable itself. Well, okay, you get the idea. Essentially what this does is if I were to want to replace this iron center with what's tight, or at least some of it, then I would get some of it in that box, and I would just press it, right? Same thing goes for the other part. It's replaced it, as you can see, with the iron center. That's what replace does. E. Okay, this is searching for certain elements. Fire. That is not how you spell fire. Fire. Ah, okay. So this actually brings you to the different elements. Yeah. So if you want to find a certain element, you just click this and you enter the name of the element, like unstable was tight. Yeah, it'll find it even if it's not all capital or lowercase. It'll just find it. Unstable was tight. Okay. Tips. Yeah, this is just a tip screen. TPS between 1 and 1000. Simulate and run. Perfect. That's just a tip screen. Info screen. This will tell you everything you've discovered. If I were to press all. Oh, honestly, you do not need to use the tips, the TPS screen, because, or sorry, the info screen, because this is for every single element that's also in here. And I don't have any of the elements from the original game. Okay, the info screen. Saves. So, okay, this one's kind of important, right? Essentially, what saves is if you have a certain scene that you would like to save, like half oil, whoa, half oxygen, and some hydrogen, right? I thought this scene was the bomb. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, well, I'm going to pause it. You don't have to pause it, but I'm going to pause it just to save on resources. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to, okay, I love the scene. I'm going to go press saves, and then I'm going to go press save on one of the slots. And it'll ask you a whole bunch of things. You want to name the scene, whatever you want to name it. Name. And you can save all the different things, including temperature, colors, settings, mods, raw data. Honestly, I just save all of them. I really don't care. These are if you ever upload them, which I don't know how you would do. Or actually, I'm pretty sure if you somehow like export that data, it'll update them. Or if you ever export the save, that'll like say in the save like who made it, which I don't do. And there's also these other saves you can load from Steam and Discord, or if you even have Discord. If you even have Steam featured just in the game itself. I actually don't know. Oh, interesting. I would probably honestly have to go in and delete this because I have no clue how any of this is in the game. Because it shouldn't be. I deleted everything, or at least I thought I did. I guess I didn't. Okay, well, you know that now. So, mods. This is the very, very important part. I probably should have said this one first because this is going to be a big, long video that's going to end soon. So, when I give someone this file, right, it's going to look like this. Completely normal game. what you're going to go in and need to do, and this might honestly, if this changes, I'll either upload a new video or add it to the comment section, or I'll audit or change the description of the video on YouTube. You're going to want to type in two different files, okay? So the first one is going to be really simple. It's called iron.js. It's going to say added mod. Actually, hold on. Let me go back from the start, right? Okay, so here's the important thing you need to do. You're going to go to mods, and then once you're here, you're going to click this. You don't have to do any capitals or nothing. Actually, you're probably just going to want to do a capital I for iron, right? Iron.js. And it has to be this exact thing. You press enter, and it's going to say added mod. It's going to say refresh page to apply changes. You're going to want to click on this little guy up here. And you're going to want to either go up here and press this and press enter, or just press the refresh button. And it's going to add one of my mods. Now, the other mod you want is going to be delete source.js. That is delete source. That is delete source.js. Okay? So you're going to want to press enter, and you're going to want to apply the mod. Boom. What that does is that removes everything else that I do not want. Now, why do I not want the other things? As you could have seen, in some of this, oxygen, water, hydrogen are already in the original game. I don't want any of those overriding with my mod. That's why I delete them. Okay, now that we've gotten past that, settings. This is going to be pretty important. Settings. You can either set your setting. Okay, this is a whole bunch of stuff on the screen you're going to explore. We're going to go through it one by one. Units. This is mainly going to change maybe some of the measurements down here. Maybe when you're heating something or you're cooling something. Any metric, any units are going to see. You can change to imperial or metric or SI, whatever that is. Background. You can actually set the background of your game. I recommend just keeping it black. Theme. This is going to be the theme of your whole entire screen, right? So you can have all these different themes. It doesn't look like it'll affect your background. I just keep it dark, keep it simple. Hiding elements. This is also pretty important. Essentially, in the main game, what that's going to do... Interesting. I'm fairly certain I downloaded a older version of the game, which honestly doesn't matter unless I really needed to code something. Actually, no. The reason why that's different is because I can't code in here because this file is unavailable. But this one is on the GitHub page, and I'll show you where that GitHub page is in a second. Hiding elements. Honestly, what does unhide all elements do? That is my question. Oh! Okay. So I see what my mod did. You're going to want to keep this on hide some elements because my delete source.js mod just basically hides all the elements that are unnecessary, right? So we're going to keep it on hide some elements. And then default view. What? Thermal. Maybe if I were to go... Yes. Okay, I understand. So wall, right? This is the thermal view. You can actually look at the thermals of things. Thermal. This is the thermal. It's very, very warm. It's cool. Remember, hot to cold. Yeah, hot to cold. You can actually see the different heat temperatures using this, right? Basic. What is basic? Oh. Okay. Basic. Okay, this is going to be a little bit harder to explain. Look at the difference. Look, this is just a singular pixel. Unset is where you have that texture to everything. Now, streak. Yeah, okay. So, essentially, what the streak's going to do is it's going to leave a trail behind the pixel. Best way to demonstrate that is to grab some oil. And I'm going to drag a little bit of the oil, and you can see how it leaves a streak on the screen. That's what that does. I'm going to keep it on unset. or even I might even keep it on basic because it's easier to see certain like fire and oxygen mix, right? Canvas. This is a bit different. This will actually reset your scene. As you can see, it'll clear your whole entire screen. The best way to describe this, look, my box will not change after I set this, okay? So if I were to set mine now to large, that is how, look at the difference. This is in the large canvas scene, right? This is going to be in the tiny canvas scene. Same box size, just different literal, different width, right? This is the whole entire tiny scene, while this is the whole entire large scene. You can see the difference now, right? Medium's just the regular size scene. Or I think, yeah, I don't know. I can honestly just do this and it'll show, yeah, medium. Okay, border, okay. Okay, this one's also, it's not complicated. Essentially what border is, if I were to do it, right, what I'm going to do, wall, like that, and then I'm going to put down like a butt ton of oil, right? As you can see, all the oil stays in here because there's a solid wall right here that prevents it from escaping. If I were to set it to void, it literally would just fall into the void. It says that this is not a wall, it's just a void. So if it ever comes into contact with something out here, it'll just go away. What about loop all? What does this do? Well, if something falls down here, it'll fall from the top. And if it falls from the side, basically, look, if I were to describe it, it comes over here, it's going to loop back around and come over here. If it goes down here, it's going to loop back around and come up here. So you got infinite oil shower, right? Pretty simple. Now, loop horizontal, it doesn't actually loop through the bottom. It only loops through these side parts, right? Now, destroyable. Oh. Well, what does it do? Don't know. That's interesting. I think it's just like a random thing. No, it's not. Why did it take my oil? Oh. Oh, okay. So yeah, it's basically just like the void outside of that destroyable wall. Honestly, I'd just keep it on solid. Staining, burning, clouds, reset warning, fancy pixel, precision dot. Okay. Staining, don't know what that is. Oh, no, I do. Okay. So, look, staining, if I were to heat this wall up to a really high temperature, if I were to if I were to put fire on this wall, if I were to incinerate the wall, look, do you see how some of these pixels are like way more darker than the rest? That's staining, right? So, what is burning? Burning is just if I in the main game, okay, if I were to show this, charcoal, heat up charcoal, you don't heat up charcoal. You put it on fire, that's burning, right? The charcoal will burn, all right? Charcoal burns. Clouds. That's also because this is also another reason why I'm not dealing with elements in the main game is because in the main game, what clouds are is if I were to have a whole bunch of oxygen, right, and I heat it up, or if it actually reaches the top of the screen, okay, so you can drag. If it reaches the top of the screen, it'll actually turn into ozone, and sometimes it'll turn into a cloud, right? So you can turn that off. Reset warning is that screen that we see whenever we reset the screen. So you can either turn that on or off. So look, if I were to press reset. Interesting. Let me reload the game. Interesting. Why does it do that? That's weird. I actually have no clue why it does that, but as you saw earlier, that reset screen, that's what this is. Fancy pixels. What is a fancy pixel? What is a fancy pixel, dude? Ah, you know what that probably is? Hold on, let's unset this. Yeah, it's probably like the, yeah. Precision dot. It gives you the little dot. You see that? Invert scroll. If I were to scroll up, or if I will scroll down, usually this thing would grow smaller. Now it grows bigger. If I were to scroll up, usually it should grow bigger. Now it grows smaller. Right? Limitless. Oh, okay, yeah. Limitless is essentially because usually if you have too many moving particles on screen, and usually that's like across the whole entire screen, it's gonna like cap out how many elements you can have, like pixels. Limitless means you have a limitless amount. Cheerful mode you don't really need to worry about unless you're in the main game. Cheerful mode is essentially removes all gore, right? So yeah, random events. Don't know, and I don't want to know. Interesting. I guess these are random events. Interesting. Okay. Can I reset the scene, please? Okay, I guess I can reset the scene. Oh, okay. So essentially, the reason why I couldn't reset the scene earlier is because I had nothing in it. Right? I can only reset the scene if I have something in it. Um, pardon me. Air temperature. This will set the ambient air temperature. Right now, it's 20 degrees Celsius. Actually, it'll set what the pixels spawn in at. It won't set the ambient temperature. It sets what the pixels spawn at. So right now they spawn at 20, but I want them to spawn at 2000. So let's go ahead and spawn a thing. Unstable splinter now spawns in at 2000. Right? That's the ambient. Now if I were to cool it down, or at least try to cool it, it would actually heat back up because the ambient air temperature is actually 2000, but it does spawn in at that high amount. Air density. How dense the air is. Okay. Yeah, that's just kind of like a reference for the game. And an absolute zero, that's the absolute zero value. You can reset discovered. You really don't need to worry about that if you're playing on my mod. Reset all. Oh, that's just for the settings screen. Clear mods, it just basically what clear mods does, if you go in here and press mods, it'll just press those X's for you. And clear saves, it'll actually delete all your saves. World Gen Beta. Okay. This will just generate a scene for you. That is not a forest. That is straight lava. Oh. It's because I still have the thing set at such a high temperature. Whoopsie. Forest. Reset scene. Sorry about that. That's why everything turned to lava. So you can set different. These are all little presets they got. Don't know what imaging is. Don't know. Right? Smoothing probably just makes the game run a bit smoother or something. Or actually, you see that in the background? Look at the tree development when it's off, and look what it's on. It's much faster when it's off. So maybe it's just like a performance thing. Why is that tree so dark? Wow, these trees are growing. Let's add some water. Oh, I don't have water. Let's just give them oil. Hey, drink up! Why ain't they drinking my oil? Interesting. Well, maybe they're not thirsty right now. Alright. Well, that concludes my... Oh, you don't have to worry about any of this, by the way. Okay, so my tutorial's literally for nothing, because you could have just come down here and look at the controls. I hope you do. But yeah. So, that concludes my tutorial. This video will be uploaded on YouTube for everyone to see. It's not personal. I will see you all later, especially when I have an update for my mod. And it's a major update. It's not just, I changed the melting temperature to like 2. Isn't that pretty nice? Alright, that's a bird. The bird got trapped in oil. Alright, I will see you all later. Bye!